So all these shifter bushings made a big difference. I know in the other video I made, I was kind of messing with it after I got all put back together, and I said it didn't really seem that different. But after I drove the car for the first time after getting all that done, I instantly noticed a big difference. And it now, like, there's like no play in it at all. Not that there was like a ton of play in it before, but now it just feels like everything is solid in there. And in between gears, it feels almost like a gated shifter. The only problem with that is I've never actually tried a gated shifter before, so I'm not sure what that feels like, but in my mind, this is what it would feel like if it was a gated shifter. So, I mean, it's kind of what people would describe as notchy, but it's a good way. It has a lot of kind of feedback to it, and it's a really positive feeling. So I really like these shifters, and I still haven't done the cable bushings up on the transmission, so that could make it feel even better. I've only done the stuff on the shifter itself. So, I mean, it makes a big difference. And that centering spring also, it's very strong. The spring is pretty strong, so if you don't like having to force the shifter over to go into first, second, or fifth or sixth, I mean, you definitely have to push it harder. There is a big difference there. If my wife were driving this, she would not like this, I guarantee that. She knows how to drive a stick just fine, but it's definitely more force to put over here. And especially if you haven't driven this car before and you get in it, you're gonna be like, oh, why is it so hard? It wouldn't make sense to you, but knowing what I did, obviously that's what I wanted. But the nice thing is, going from second to third, you don't even have to push it back over. You just push it up and it basically just goes right into third. So I really like that. It really made this car just that much sportier. I've done quite a few modifications to this car now. I can go over a few of those in this, I might as well. So some modifications I've done to this car so far. The first thing I did after I bought it, within like 500 to 1,000 miles, the clutch slave cylinder has a proportioning valve in it, and I took the slave cylinder off and removed that proportioning valve, and that made the clutch feel so much better. I've been driving a manual transmission since I could drive, and having that proportioning valve in there made it so difficult, because if you want to shift fast or drop the clutch and you want that positive clutch engagement, you couldn't get it, because if you drop the clutch, that proportioning valve would only let so much fluid through, so it would basically slowly let the clutch out for you to help with like not killing the car. Like if you're like just learning to drive, then it probably would be a pretty decent thing, but for me, I know how to drive a stick, so it bugged me to death, so I got rid of that. The next thing I did was the adaptive noise canceling. There's like a little sensor or computer underneath the glove box over there, and I unplugged that and I just zip tied the connector under there to a bracket. That made the stereo system sound a whole lot better. It still sounds like garbage, but it's definitely better. It doesn't crackle or sound like it's distorting all the time, I guess you could say. Now it sounds better. I also replaced the front 2 speakers in the doors and the lower doors. Stereo still sounds like garbage, but at least you can turn it up louder now without it sounding like it's distorting. It really needs a subwoofer, which I've been looking at that one that you can buy for underneath the passenger seat. That one may be coming eventually, but I don't want to spend I think it's like $600 or something on it. And audio, I mean, I really like audio, but it's not worth it to me right now. So let's see, I changed the transmission fluid in it, at about 1,000 miles because the gears seemed kind of like they were scratching a little bit. So I changed it to AMSOIL Synchromesh transmission fluid, and I honestly didn't notice a difference with that. I mean, it may have done something, but I've just learned to let the engine and transmission warm up, and then I don't have any problems at all. I think the problem I was having before was that I would try to drive it harder, shift it fast or something with the transmission still cold, and it just doesn't like that. So I stopped doing that, and I just drive it for a little bit, and then once it's all warmed up into temperature, you can drive it however you want. It doesn't matter. So let's see, the biggest change, well, I guess you guys saw the K&N air filter or intake I put on, so that was the next modification. I kind of did a lot right just recently. So I did that, which made the engine sound awesome. You can hear the blow-off sound from the turbo. You can hear the turbo whistle more. It changed the car completely, and just the sound of it, not performance-wise. And then almost at the same time, I added this K-tuner, which is by far the best modification I've done, which it wasn't even really a modification, you just plugged it in. And it has really been the best. And I'm probably gonna do a review on this. I kind of have the settings how I like it, but I'm gonna make that a different video. Because it's gonna take a little longer to go through what I have it set at and stuff, but it really makes the car 100 times better. And I really only have one thing that I hate about this car still. And by hate's kind of strong word, but very dislike, that I'm probably never going to be able to get rid of unless they do the same thing as they do. Anyway, that is this electric parking brake. I hate that it has to be on in order to start this car. In the automatic versions, it doesn't have to be on. But in the automatic versions, you can set it so it automatically engages when you turn the car off. In the manual versions, you can't do that, which doesn't make any sense. So this has to be turned on in order to start the car, but in the owner's manual, it says do not have this turned on in cold conditions or freezing conditions. You're supposed to park it in gear in cold conditions so the parking brake doesn't freeze. So in the wintertime, you have to get in the car, pull the parking brake on, then press the start, and then you don't really necessarily have to turn it off, because like right now, if I put it in gear and I took my foot off the brake, if you just give it a little gas and let the clutch out at the same time, it automatically turns off. So I never have had a problem with that. I never turn it off. It just automatically turns off. But I don't like that. And I did find there's a website called hondahack.org or something like that, where for the Civics and the CR-Vs, they have hacked the head unit here, and you can make it so you can disable that feature, so this parking brake wouldn't need to be set in order to start the car. So I'm hoping eventually they figure out how to hack this head unit so we can have that same thing in this car. But I think the big problem is they're trying to figure out how to get a browser on here, because once you can get a browser on here, then you can go to the website and download the stuff, but they haven't figured out how to get a browser on here to be able to hack it yet. Which I know there's secret menus that you can get to on this, which I've done, but you still can't get to certain things. You can adjust audio levels and stuff like that, but you really can't do much else. But I guess that's pretty much it for this episode. These shifter bushings, once again, are amazing, and I totally recommend them. It was a little bit of money. I mean, for something that you're constantly using, it seems worth it to me. It's not like it's something that you do, but you're not realizing the difference, or you're not seeing any change. It's definitely something that you'll notice every time you drive the car, and it just makes it feel so much nicer. I'd say that's about all for this video. The next video about this car will probably be about the K-Tuner. And I don't know how in depth I'm going to go with that. I'm probably just going to kind of tell what I have it set at and what I've experienced with it. And I have actually talked to a Honda technician about some of the features on there, so I'll go over that a little bit too. But I think for now, that's going to be it. So thank you for watching this episode, and please subscribe and like, and we'll see you next time.